An ultra-processed food is basically something that bears no resemblance to the food in its original form. And unfortunately, these days, there's a lot of them. Sometimes it can be hard to tell what an ultra-processed food is because the front of the pack isn't always the best guide. The best thing to look for is to go to the back and look at the ingredients list. If it's just a couple of ingredients or things that you recognize, it's likely to be less processed. If there's an awful lot of things in that list that you don't recognize, it's likely to be leaning towards more ultra-processed. So some of the key things to look out for are the additives, the flavorings, the emulsifiers, preservatives, and long lists of names that you don't recognize. So when it comes to ultra-processed food, what it comes down to is the quantity and the frequency. So when it comes to something like breakfast, you don't want to be having lots of ultra-processed foods every day. Once a week, maybe, but on the other days, it's better to have less processed options. So this is an example of an ultra-processed breakfast cereal, which bears no resemblance to the original grain that it came from. It's shiny on the outside, which means that it's been sprayed in sugar to make it nice and sweet in the bowl. And it's really not going to fill you up for very long based on the ingredients that are in it. It's going to be higher in sugar and lower in fiber than healthier options. This one here is a little bit better because it is lower in sugar, it's lower in salt, it's got more fiber in it, and there's far less ingredients than the more ultra-processed one. When it comes to the best option, rolled oats is pretty much as good as it's going to get. It's really affordable, it's got more protein than you might realize in here, heaps of fiber, and super versatile. So you can use this, yes, for a porridge, but you can also make overnight oats or a soaked bircher muesli, and even you can make some breakfast muffins. So when it comes to yogurt, they differ more than you realize. So even though they might look quite similar, nutritionally, they can be very different. So the ones that are more processed have got a much longer ingredients list. They're likely to have lots of thickness stabilizers in them. They tend to be a little bit more watery, and the lumps of fruit don't look really anything like real fruit. A better option would be one that's got a much lower number of ingredients. So this has only got a couple of ingredients in the list, not got any artificial colors, not got any artificial flavors. It's got real fruit in it. It's thicker and nowhere near as watery as the other one. The top of the charts would be one that is an unsweetened natural yogurt. There's basically two ingredients in there, which is yogurt and the live bacteria that's used to make it, that you sweeten with whatever fruit you like. So a lot of people have bread for breakfast, but there's a huge difference between this kind of one over here, the super ultra processed one, and this one over here. So a super ultra processed one, as you can see, very white, very fluffy, resembles nothing like the original grain, again, that it came from, low in fiber, not going to fill you up, really not a great choice. Then we've got the kind of middle of the road one, which is basically still a soft one. It's got some visible grains. It's light and fluffy. It has got more fiber than the original white one, but it's still a highly processed food, but it is definitely a better option than that one. Top of the charts would be one like this. It's really dense. It's got lots and lots of visible grains. If you look at the back of the ingredients list, it's much shorter than some of the other ones without all the emulsifiers and extra bits and pieces in them. So a really good option for an everyday bread. There are a huge number of muesli bars on the market. So when you're getting the ultra processed one, it's pretty easy to tell with these because essentially they are often sugary. There's often got the chocolate, or this is called yogurt on the outside. It's not yogurt. It's basically a version of chocolate with a little bit of yogurt powder in it. It is definitely, don't think you're getting any protein when you're getting that from there. It's also tiny. That's not going to fill you up. It's got sugar in it, not an ideal choice at all. So a middle of the road one is a nut bar. So this actually has the visible nuts. You can see them in there. They've not been all ground up. Yes, they are coated with a sugary coating, so that's why it sits in the middle of the road, but it is definitely better than more highly processed muesli bar that sits there. Top of the charts here would be just your natural scroggin mix, which is actually very affordable when you look at the price of muesli bars, which are highly processed and often tiny. So this really is the best choice.